I say it almost every week, but I know sometimes finding a win amongst the chaos can be challenging or feel not important. But being a business owner is really hard. It's hard stuff. You guys know that firsthand. And so looking for those and finding those little wins, those process wins, not necessarily the end goal, but those little victories along the way. Not only does that really help you, but you don't know who else that's helping on that call. And so would love for you guys to go ahead and start thinking about what wins have I had the past couple weeks. Maybe it's a employee thing or a closed deal or implement a new system or better cash flow or collections. There's so many places that we can get wins from. So I want you guys to go ahead and start thinking about that because I am going to ask. And then we're going to get into the Q&A, and that's a time for you guys to ask any questions that you have. This is the most powerful hour of the week because not only are you getting advice from coaches, but you're getting advice from people who are literally in the trenches with you, who have been where you are where you are and can give you, direct advice from experience. And so want you guys to go ahead and start thinking about what questions, what made you log on today? What are you trying to find out here today? So let's go ahead and let's get into the wins. I'll get off my soapbox, hand it over to you guys. No right or wrong way to go about it. Just unmute and tell us what good is happening.
Well, I'll go first. I have to order a new estimate board and a new job board. Our board has been completely filled up this last week. So
Hey.
we're utilizing some of the stuff that Nicole has sent over as far as trying to track all of this stuff. But the phone has been ringing. We've been doing estimates and picking up work. So that's a big win for us.
Yes, Jason, that's huge. Seeing that closing ratio, seeing more leads come in, being pickier about what we're doing.
Yep.
I love it. Love it. Congrats.
So I got a big win.
Tell us.
This is my first day joining the Redmond group, and I'm excited to start. So that's my big win for the week.
That is a huge win. We appreciate you being here, making group coaching happening on your first day with Redmond Growth. I know you are meeting in just a couple hours here. Everybody, this is Pete. Pete, we appreciate you being here. We'll see you every Thursday moving forward. Does anybody have any wise words for Pete? It's his first day with Redmond Growth. Does anybody have any wise words, wisdoms?
I can chime in with that. I've been thinking about a series of wins. We started with Redmond, I can't remember, November, December of last year. And if you guys just do all the little things that they ask you to do, don't look for a silver bullet that's going to solve everything. In December, there were just 2 of us, and I had an office guy just starting. Now we've got 3 more guys. I'm interviewing a sales guy tomorrow. Our job board is full as well. I've got 5 sales appointments to go to today. We've got 22 that are sold that are needing to be scheduled. Those are from really small jobs to some larger jobs, but all the little things that get recommended do work. It just takes time to implement, and it's not all going to happen the first week. So a lot of little wins that add up to a big win for us over the last 10 months.
Brandon, I really appreciate you speaking up here, and congratulations. It sounds like the business is in a really good spot. Hopefully it's not as dependent upon you as it was maybe back in December. And you've got
a little bit at a time. Everybody we bring on, my responsibility goes down a little bit, and then you have to put more fires out, but it all just takes time, and there's no silver bullet. So be willing for all the little things that they ask you to do.
I love that. Love that, Brandon. I know a lot of marketing companies, coaching companies out there kind of promise the overnight results, the silver bullet. And if we had it, guys, I promise you we would give you that silver bullet.
And Travis will tell you that I am not diligent in all the little things that he's asking me to do. And he has to bug me all the time. And that's one of the awesome things about this setup is you get an accountability partner that forces you to follow their process. And when you don't follow it, they call you out on it. And that's awesome.
In a very kind way. Sure.
I appreciate that advice. I
Yeah.
look forward to it.
Awesome. What other wins are we having here today? Michael, I see you talking, but I think you're muted.
Yeah, there we go. Good eye. I'll chime in. So I know there's not overnight wins, but I did have an overnight win. Caden went live with the review campaign, and I had 35 5 stars come in 24 hours. So tripled my Google review results overnight. So that was awesome to see.
Michael, holy heck, dude.
Yeah, that was cool.
That is incredible. Now, I feel like I need to give a warning. That doesn't happen every single time, guys. You're not every single campaign we run are you going to get 35 reviews overnight. It depends on a lot of different factors, but Michael, that's phenomenal. And I hope you realize that that is a bit abnormal to get that many that quickly. And so I want you to recognize that, knowing that like you must do kick-ass work and have really great customer service for that many to want to come in all at once. You know, the email campaign, we do it over the course of a couple weeks to give people kind of second and third chances, kind of reminders. And so for on the first draw, them to be like, oh yeah, I want to review this guy, like that's a testament to the quality.
Awesome. I didn't realize. I thought it was. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
That is abnormal for
Okay,
sure.
good to know.
So I want you to wear that badge of honor. And everybody else use that as kind of encouragement, where if you haven't ran an email campaign with us, or maybe you haven't in a while and you have like a new customer list that you can give us, those email campaigns are a beautiful tool to help you guys get reviews. You know, we love to do them every quarter or every month, just depending on what industry you're in. If you're a remodeler, it's probably going to be every quarter. If you're a service person, it could be every month, depending on your volume. So use that as inspiration as well to be like, hey, I've got to get those emails and I've got to get the Redmond team updated customer list so they can work their magic. So really appreciate that win, Michael. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What other wins do we have going on today, guys? I know that's a tough act to follow.
I'll say so yeah, me and Nicole met yesterday for the first time. And my win this week is that we've implemented some things to start chipping away at it. And like everybody said so far, it's not going to happen overnight, and I don't expect it to. But we're in a good position where we are as a company now that we're successful, and we're looking to add to that success, and that's where we're at. So I think right now we've got some things to implement and start working at. I mean, companies, 3 generations of our family have ran this company, so we've been around for a long time. We've had long-term clients, and we're looking to make new clients and implement, looking to bring this company into the 21st century. Stop doing things back in the 90s. So paper files, paper ledgers, looking to bring things to the digital age.
Yeah.
That's
Levi, I love it, Levi. We had a great first call, and I love that you say it's kind of chipping away. Like in that first call, we were able to discover, okay, we're going to need to solve this, but let's not talk about it right now. We're going to table it. We're going to solve that later. Let's focus on. And when he said ledger, Levi, that is going to be, a task getting the books digital. But I'm sure that a lot of clients here, I mean, I know of clients who their whole customer list is in legitimate files, not online files, but files, having to like move them over. So you're not alone in that. I see Matt Pierce is on this call. I know he's normally in the field already. So I don't know if you're able to talk, Matt, but they've been in business for 90 years. And so similar story to you, where it's a generational business, and they came on to Redmond Growth for the exact same reasons that you are, Levi, where they're like, it's time to get into the new century. It's time to do things different than we've always done them if we're going to want different results. And so, Matt, I don't know if you're in position to kind of testify to that or tell Levi that it's hard work, but work worth doing. But I'm glad that you're on board, Levi, and making the steps.
Thank you.
Yes. What other wins, guys? These are awesome.
I can talk. This is my first group meeting, so that's a win, right?
Definitely,
A huge
Tom.
win.
Yeah.
We're happy to
And
have you here.
yeah, and I hired a guy a year ago and trained him, and then we hired somebody this week, and the guy that I hired a year ago is out installing and help train the new guy this week. So
Well,
that's a
that
win.
is a win, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes, I see a lot of head nods where people are like, "Oh yeah, that is a win." Having somebody else
Mhm.
doing the training in the field. I love
Yeah.
it. And Tom, we do a beard contest every December against Travis. So if you want to go ahead and start gearing up for that, it seems like you've got a nice healthy one there. So
He's got a good head start on me. I don't know
yeah.
if I'll be able to take the crown.
We'll see. Time will tell, right?
I get bonus points for being ginger, though, right?
Do you?
I think so.
Okay, we'll give you that. For
We'll see
putting
who
up with
looks
all
the
the
most
jokes.
homeless.
I love it. Well, just a couple wins that I wanted to share here today. Maria, I see you here with Summit Home Solutions. I reviewed their numbers the other day, and it's really his first like full year in business, and they're set to hit over about $500,000 revenue what we originally like set the goal to be for this year. And so they're already on track to pass that goal. And so really excited for them in their first year. And then Whole House Cabinetry, they also are, they actually exceeded their revenue goal for this year already last month and are on track to do over 400 to 500,000 more this year than what our original goal was. And so guys, measure what you treasure. Use that as inspiration of not just staying the course, but also you got to look at your numbers. I looked at the numbers yesterday with Copper Peaks Plumbing and noticed the same trend, and they hadn't even realized that they had already exceeded their goal. And it's like, pay attention to those numbers, look at those little wins, celebrate them along the way, because it is being a business owner can be tough. So pay attention to those things and celebrate them. So really appreciate you guys giving us your wins here today and sharing. What questions do we have? What issues have you maybe ran into this week that you're needing to even vent or get advice from? Or what learning happened this week that you would love to share with someone else so that they don't make the same mistake? What brought you to this group call today? What are we trying to find out? So you can raise your hand on digitally. There's that little hand button. You can unmute and fire away. But let's get into the Q&A. You can type in the chat if you're not able to. Chris, unmute and tell us
Hey,
what's
how's it
happening.
going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Good.
So I've got a problem that has something bad has happened from something good. And, I've gotten way busier. The calls are coming in and it's been going good. I've just run into the issue of where more work is. I mean, I know it's harder, but like it's all on me. So me and Bryce, where he's like, you need to go ahead and get an office admin because now, I mean, I'm doing non-revenue generating tasks so much. I mean, I'm estimating, running around, trying to project manage. So I'm getting spread too thin. So I'm going to start looking for an office admin, and I was going to see from everybody on here, like, what's been your experience with office admins as far as like what's the most valuable things that they do for you, and maybe, what are some things that you had them do or try to do that maybe weren't so successful to have me like get a realistic job scope for those people.
Great question. And a lot of our clients enter into that stage pretty quickly on with us. So it's exciting, but it is nerve-wracking. I think everybody's
Yeah.
always a little nervous to make that decision.
Or just know,
Yeah,
like, answer all my phone calls. Number one.
yeah. Well, and that will save you more time than you think than
Yeah.
managing the phone, but there's a lot more that they can do than just
Yeah.
that. We always say that it's always going to be an asset instead of an expense if done correctly. Maria with Summit, she actually is the office admin. He was in your position about 6 months ago and hired Maria here. And so I would love Maria to kind of tell Chris what is it all that you're taking off of Riley's plate.
So yeah, that's why I was like, me, I do that. I answer all the calls and keep the schedule set up. That helps a lot. And then something that's like really noticeable, just as a formal repetition, is
I don't have my speaker down. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're good.
Like I'm just talking. But I was gonna say I take all the calls and I do the schedule, obviously. But something that's been really helpful is I send out like all the reminder texts to people because I know like a lot of people are really afraid of being ghosted or like you're not gonna show up or you're disorganized or whatever. So just getting that, hey, I have you on the schedule for this day of, I will remind you. People really respond well to that and want to come back
Yeah.
to you. And then also I help with the tracking. I know that's something that seems not important. Nicole was talking about that, like tracking your revenue, just having someone like track how many calls you're getting in and seeing the growth difference between having the office manager, you will see the value come in. And definitely hire someone you can trust and that can like pick up the slack for easy things. Like I collect all the receipts and do the rebates for anything at like Menards or whatever. That's just like one thing you don't need to be dealing with. I can send that out.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's why I have these sheets that like this is a remodel sheet, that a bathroom remodel, and I have, keep all the expenses, like just makes you know, you have all the different accounts at different places, keeping up with the expenses. So invoicing is easier. They can do the invoicing because if it's just me, I mean, I'm behind on getting the payments. I'm behind on getting the expenses to get, like, man, it just kills you.
Yes. Chris, I just put a link to our daily office workflow checklist. I'll share my screen and show it as well. Now, guys, this is in no way all comprehensive. You are going to take things away from this. You are going to add things to it. We want to see that. As the position evolves, this checklist is going to evolve. This is just a template that we threw together with all of kind of the basic duties that we see an office manager doing. Because we get this question a lot, Chris. A lot of times they've never hired for this position before, so they feel a little bit lost when coming up with that duties. I put that link in the chat, guys. If you want it, like a copy for yourself, hit file and then make a copy. And then you'll be able to rename it, whatever you want to name it, and you'll be able to make any edits to it that you want. But think of all the little things, Chris, that your really annoying Redmond growth coach is constantly like badgering you about. And I guarantee you there's a lot of them that the office manager can do for you. Calling applicants on Indeed, filing leads inside of Google Local Services, getting Google reviews, making those Google reviews calls, responding to Google reviews, taking photos, sending photos, collections, if I didn't already say that.
I mean, that right there is a full job, just right.
Oh.
Like just those things that I mean, that's what I told Bryce. I said, man, like out in the field, I'm here, I'm there trying to just keep track of the leads. And like, I got a job, a $6,000 job, approved the other day. I saw it. Well, we had a hurricane coming, but it's exactly like a big thing that I've found is the communication. And I mean, just for the people, like you said about the reviews, like, I mean, almost every job other than word of mouth I've been getting, they're like, I saw your reviews on Google, and like that right there is getting me the jobs, is my reviews alone.
Yeah. And those are free leads, and we love those. So having somebody on your team that's actively nurturing that is huge. And we haven't even tapped into, okay, maybe the phones are a little bit slow this week, or maybe they have a little bit of time on their hands. They do drink 1-800 work, which is more of a form of networking. There's a ton of marketing activities that they can do. They can take your income and expenses and really be able to track the profitability of jobs, saying this is what we originally quoted and this is what originally cost us. They can go through and call your vendors and try to get better deals on materials or an exclusive deal, or they're able to, check on insurances for you. Like there's so much that they can do, and it might not be something they do every day, but something, if there's ever downtime, we always have something they could do to fill the gap that's going to bring revenue into the company one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah. And hiring for that position, guys, you will get more applicants than you know what to do with. The two main things that you're really looking for when you're hiring for that position is how do they sound on the phone? Like you need somebody who sounds good on the phone, who, is a little bit upbeat, can follow a script. And you want somebody who's organized with kind of that like grab the bull by the horns personality, not the I need my handheld personality, but the like give me the to-do list, give me the thing, and I'm gonna get it done, type of personality. So those are the main things that I'd really be looking for with that position. Great question, Chris. And I see a few of you on that checklist now. Just make a copy of it. It's all yours. Make whatever edits that you want. If you have a current office manager, you can use that to kind of audit what all are they doing. Do I need to give them a checklist? Probably, if they don't have one already. What other questions do we have today or feedback for Chris? I see, Chris, that Dale Eads with Arnold's Plumbing put in the chat that it's the easiest hire that they've made. He still does most of the financial stuff. He really handles everything else when it comes to the back end. And it really is a game changer. Like Dale's no longer in the field and he spends a couple days in the office per week, checks in with the team, and then he's at home doing 1,000,005 DIY projects because he can't sit still. But he's still keeping busy.
Riley just texted me and said, do it. An office manager is totally worth it. So that's good to hear. But just think, your time is so valuable. Like I can't do estimates. I can't build things, or whatever. And it's like, so anything that's annoying, like right now we're getting t-shirts for the team and finding someone to embroider it. Okay, that's super annoying. Like my boss should not be worried about it. The owner should not be worried about it. I should be making all those annoying calls. That's my job. And it's not going to bother you any. So just take off your plate any of the little annoying things and realize your value that you have with your company. No one can do what you do.
Amen.
You looking for a job?
No, I'm the best boss ever. Sorry.
I'll tell it to you a different way. It's the one hire at your stage of business that can double your revenue, because they will organize more estimates, more work, more people than you can imagine. Like you're mentally capped out already, and just them being able to organize it, they can vet subcontractors and find a bunch of people that you just don't have the brain space to find to do more work than you even know how to sell.
That's a great point, Brandon. And something we didn't talk about is they are helping you implement a lot of the sales process, Chris. So that helps with your closing ratio too. Having somebody who can nurture those leads, follow up with them. And I just want to touch on this as well, guys. When you get to the point that Chris, that right is in, a lot of times the decision needs to be made. Do I want to hire a project manager? And then I step out of the field and I'm kind of the office manager who also focuses on sales. Like you can make that decision as a business owner if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to manage projects anymore or get your hands dirty, you can step into that role and then hire a project manager. Now that position is going to be harder to fill. Or you stay the project manager and salesperson and you hire that office manager. That's typically the pathway that we see, but there's really no right or wrong there. Like I have some clients that they are ready to get out of the field. And so they're like, I'll be the office manager, salesperson, and then I'll hire a project manager to manage that side. What I will say is typically once you hire one of them, it very quickly demands the need for the other. And that's exactly what happened with Summit Home Solutions is they hired the office person. All of a sudden, really is able to do a lot more deals because he's focusing more on sales. They're able to do more work. And now he's like, gosh, I need somebody to help me manage these jobs and get these jobs done faster because I just have so much. And so just be kind of mentally prepared for that. Usually one does result in pretty quickly needing the other as long as we're doing that position well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Chris, you're probably in a good position right now for it because you're already working with Redmond and you have all the assets and things to implement that they've given you to organize and be efficient. And we have an office manager here, and he's been here for about 3 years. So now that we've started with Redmond, now I have to pretty much retrain him to work in a whole completely different way, you know, in regards to our filing system, our tracking, our jobs. So I say you're in a really good position where you've implemented all of that already, so you can train them properly and not have to redo this again in a year, 2 years. So
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, and that was like Nicole said, my biggest thing is like I'd struggled for a long time about whether to hire a project manager or an office admin, and that was always the biggest thing. It's like, how do I figure that out? And like definitely office admin, I think, because it's obviously lower cost position than that. But I've tried to do project managers without having an office admin. So now I'm back in the field, still trying to field the calls, still trying to show like this is how we do things, this is how we, and then that. So now you're doing both positions and training somebody, and it was just like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's usually easier to go the office manager than project manager way.
Yeah, that's what I've learned.
For sure.
No, I appreciate it. It's been a stressor, but I think like just hearing those few comments, like I'm like, I'm dragging my feet on it because I'm just scared, and I'm like, man, I need to do this 6 months ago.
Yep. I think get that person hired and then come tell us in a month how you're feeling because I have a feeling you're going to be feeling pretty good in that month.
Yeah.
Jason, I'm going to get to you, but I feel like I saw a hand go up and we just got chatty here and I just want to get to him. I think it was Caleb. Caleb, do you have a comment or question? I would love to give you the floor if so. Do you want to unmute?
Yeah, Chris, man, get that person hired yesterday. It's like, I know it's scary. It's the first one, but you're set up. You got all the resources from the Redmond group. The only thing in addition to that, I would say you might have to hire a couple to find the right fit. Hopefully not, but don't go in there thinking like, hey, the first one's the best fit. So be picky about it and like assess right away. Week 1, week 2, if it's not working, hire somebody else. Because that person or the wrong person in that role, it can go bad. So not to scare you, but just that's with any hiring.
No, that's the truth.
Yep.
I really appreciate you saying that, Caleb, because I have seen it kill people's faith in the role when they hire the wrong person. And it's like, it's probably not the role like isn't necessary. It's probably that we just don't have somebody in that position who's really making the most of that role. And the way that you can assess that if the person is the right person, and this goes with any position, not just office manager. If you have clearly communicated what you need them to do. You've clearly set those expectations and you've given them a checklist or something tangible because people are visual. We are visual creatures. You can tell somebody 17 times they're not getting it. And so, do you have it written down somewhere? These are your duties. This is what I expect. This is how to do it. And you've set those expectations no matter what the position is. You've done everything now in your power. You've given them the tools they need to exceed. You've set those expectations. So if they still aren't, meeting the mark, that usually means it's just not the right fit and you need to find somebody else. Now, if you might have the right fit, and if you've just not given them like clear expectations and clear duties and the tools they need to succeed, then that's on you, you know? And so that's a really good way to kind of determine, is it a position problem? Is it a person problem? And kind of make that. I really appreciate you saying that, Caleb, because you might take hiring a few before you find the right one, and that's okay. Don't let it kill your faith in the position.
And I would just say one more thing before we move on. Where you're at, Chris, if you don't hire that person, it's a straight path to burnout. Like I've seen so many just in my area, guys that want to grow a little bit. They get so busy, they're doing all the stuff, and then they just, over time, they lose the passion and they're out of the industry. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Jason, I see your hand up here. What question, comment, concerns, grievances? Tell me what's up.
So my question is for everyone. It kind of sounds like Chris is doing everything, but do you feel, so right now my estimator has kind of been doing the project management as well, checking on the jobs and doing all that stuff. Do a lot of you guys have separate estimators versus the project managers, checking on the jobs and all that sort of stuff? Or do you combine the two like we have been?
Anybody have any real world experience comments there for Jason? Tom, unmute. Tell us what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so my kind of grew organically, but I started my company 7 years ago with one guy, and we were doing everything. And then he ended up moving away, and I kept him remote. And we have estimating software, and so when it was just me and another guy, I would take the notes in the field and then send it to him, and he would just put it in the software and email the customer the quotes that way. And that's kind of how that started. And he would kind of deal with the email chain of dealing with, changes or whatever through that. And then he would just say, okay, from your notes, this is what me and the customer came up with. And then he would purchase the material and it would show up for us. Now I have, 2 different project managers because we do commercial and residential, and they kind of do those tasks, but they still run it through that one person as far as purchasing. And so that's been super helpful that way. And then a couple months ago, I hired just a accounts payable and receivable person because I hated doing that, getting the money to come in and making sure that we're getting paid on these jobs, whether it's deposits or final billing, or, on our commercial projects, you have monthly pay apps. And, you have to have your pay app into the contractor by the 20th or 25th of every month. And if you miss that window, you're out another 30 days on getting paid. So those 3 or 4 people doing those tasks, I've stepped more into this, like managing the customer relationships and the expectations of these people, and then kind of passing it on to the project manager. So hopefully that kind of answered that.
Yeah, I'm just in a situation where, my office manager has done really well, but she's putting together a lot of the estimates and stuff, and I just need another set of eyes, in the field. Nicole and I have talked about this, making sure the guys are working, doing their job, and just have guys disappearing to go get parts when it takes an hour and a half for them to go get a few parts and stuff like that. So I just need a few more eyes on what they're doing, where they're at, type of deal. So.
Yeah. And Jason, businesses like go in different phases. So you might have a time where like you have a project manager that's also helping you with estimating, and an office manager that's helping with estimating. And then you might get to the stage where you're like, hey, we just need somebody running the sales. And so you move somebody into that project manager position, and that's really all they do. Or the office manager, that's all they do is really manage the office and help with sales. So it kind of just depends on where the business is at. Um, One thing that we have been seeing a lot of recently, and seen it done well, is remodeling companies hiring an estimator, but really it's more of a salesperson. And what they're doing is running the sales appointments, reviewing the estimates, doing the follow-up calls, that type of thing. And then the owner, or the owner, the project manager, is coming up with the estimates. Like the salesperson goes out, they get the measurements, they're the one implementing the sales process, but they're not necessarily doing the estimate. And I say that to say a lot of clients get really nervous to hand over the estimating. And I will tell you, as your business coach, I get nervous when you guys hand over the estimating. Like, it is a scary time for me as your business coach, especially because we've probably already spent a lot of time perfecting your pricing and your cash flow and your estimating. And now we're trying to teach somebody else that. And it's a little bit of a hard thing to teach. And so if you're in a position where you're like, man, I really need to I'm the bottleneck, I need to get, sales moving quicker, that's a pretty good option where it's like, hey, if you had somebody who could implement the sales process for you and maybe even check on jobs here and there for you, or communicate with the customers, give them updates type of thing, and then you're just focusing on drawing up the estimates, is that going to save you quite a bit of time and allow you to close more deals and not be that bottleneck anymore? So kind of some food for thought.
Yeah. So with my estimator, I mean, what he's doing, and I can't remember who just said it just a few minutes ago, but they're talking about some software, estimating software. Right now, we're trying to find something like, we use Builder Trend, and there's a way that all their pricing is connected to like Home Depot to get the pricing, everything. And we're just trying to tap into that. I've been calling in some other these like House Call Pro and different things like that. And those programs are actually more expensive than what we're paying for Builder Trend. So I think we're going to stick with this for a little bit longer. But what are some of those softwares? Those
Yeah.
when you're doing these estimates, what software are you guys using?
I would love some clients to throw theirs in the chat or unmute and say, and Jason, I would definitely, for remodelers, House Call Pro is usually not the best option, or Service Titan, unless you're doing more handyman stuff, like small little jobs. If you're a remodeler, you're going to need something like Builder Trend, or Contractor Foreman is another one that I hear pretty often. I don't know, Brandon, if there's one that you use, or Chris, if there's one that you use.
We use Job Tread, which is very similar to Builder Trend, but it's only $200 a month. I would stay away from being too particular on like syncing up with Home Depot for pricing or any of that in the online system, because it's a lot of SKUs that have to get updated continually, and those change so often that then your pricing structure changes constantly. It's a lot to keep up with. You'd be better off just taking kind of a high average and focusing on the client relationships rather than being down to the absolute penny on pricing. But what we're going to do is, I'm going to stay kind of like what Nicole just mentioned. I'm looking at somebody to go out and run the sales calls and come back, create a preliminary estimate that I'm going to review. And then our main guy in the field, we're all going to have a meeting once a week about the jobs that were sold, to say, these are the materials that we think that we're going to need for this job. Do you agree that those materials would be appropriate for you to do the job? And review those for all the projects in the field, so that we don't, once we get on the job, we don't have guys running to the store as often. But what we do even in that case is, I have a set of whiteboards in the shop where the guys come back at the end of the day. They write down everything that they think that they need for tomorrow, all the little stuff.
Yes.
There's always stuff that they can do, another task that they can spend some time on rather than running. And so if they write all of that down and they snap a picture of it and send it to me, I just go to the store at 6 in the morning before they're at the shop at 7. All that stuff is sitting in their van before they leave, and it doesn't waste any of that time. So I've implemented that system myself, but now that's a system that I can hand off to the guy who's going to take over the lead field position. And a lot of it is just trying to answer all of these questions 3 to 4 weeks out, so that even materials with a lead time, usually we can capture that well in advance. And it just saves so much on the logistics of running in the middle of the job.
Right.
But having your estimator, whether that's you or your estimator that you've hired that's doing some project management, at some point somebody's got to get stuff ready for the field guys ahead of time. And that's really the key to keeping guys out of the store during the day.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of on that note, a lot of our clients do hire at some point a materials runner, like somebody who really just runs materials. If you're to the point where you have multiple jobs going on, kind of going back to what Maria said earlier, you as the business owner, like that's not your highest and best use. If you could hire a helper or somebody who, like one of my clients, he has like a retired vet that just doesn't want to sit at home all day. And so what he does is he, runs materials for them. And so if you're to the point where you're running multiple jobs and you're like, man, these jobs like go really slow, or my project manager or my estimator or myself is constantly having to run to the store, one, get a system like Brandon's, because it sounds like you don't have one yet, where his team is responsible for communicating what they need in advance. Like that is the first thing to put in place. And then second, hire somebody to run the materials, if you're to that point, is definitely something we see. And that's also more of a lower paying position.
I will tell you too, I'm sure you have a lead field guy that you're like, that guy knows everything that should go on all these jobs. And the hardest thing for my team is reminding that lead guy that he needs to be a manager first and a carpenter second, and saying you need to spend 2 to 3 hours of your day just reviewing materials, making sure that you have what you need for the next 3 to 4 days, rather than being as productive as you can as a carpenter. I need you to sacrifice 2 of those hours a day so that the other 4 guys that you're working with can maximize their productivity, and overall the team does a lot better job.
Right. Okay.
Words of wisdom. P, I see your hand up.
So one bottleneck in my process is estimating the cost of the trades: plumbing, electrical work, HVAC, etc. How do you all handle that, and what can we do better?
That's great. Great question. I could be wrong, but Brandon, I feel like you have a pretty good system for this that maybe you've talked about before.
Have a price list for the top 5 or 6 things from all those trades, and have your office manager follow up with those companies once a month, and just continually price them and say you're going to have kind of a historic thing of all the stuff that you've asked those trades to do. And so if those 3 or 4 or 5 things go up 10%, everything in their company went up 10%. And so you can gauge their entire price list off your top 5 things.
I think that's really solid advice. Anybody else have a system or something that they do to help? I think that's really the main thing you can do, Pete, unfortunately, is just kind of having a price book for them, or like a items list, and being able to pull from and making sure to hold them accountable to it. Because we do run our clients into a lot where they're like, my estimate's ready to go, but I can't deliver it yet because I'm waiting on the plumber to tell me what they think, and that can really throw a wrench into the plans. And also, and I feel like we can't go a group call without saying this, setting expectations with the client is really a lot of times the only thing you need to do to solve a lot of your problems. And so it's totally okay to give them a rough estimate and say, hey, once we've like decided to move forward, you're ready to go, I'll have my subs come out here and give me like their exact numbers, subject to change per change orders. And we can talk about how to handle change orders if you don't already have a system. And just letting them know, hey, this is around what it's going to be. Once we decide to move forward with this, I'll get with the subs and make sure that is absolutely exact, but I don't anticipate it being much outside of this range. And so it's okay to go to the customer and let them know that, that, hey, these prices are subject to change just a little bit once I get an exact answer from my subs. And that's okay. Just set the expectations.
That's generally what I do is I give them an approximation and tell them in my written estimate that this is an estimate and it's subject to change based on the cost of the trade.
Yeah.
Do
you get pushback from that typically, or are they typically pretty understanding?
No, I for the most part, everybody's been understanding with that.
Yeah. So I think between that and doing what Brandon suggested, it's going to allow you to get even more accurate with it, and then you're still setting the expectations with the customers.
For the ones like that where there is a question, we have in our process, there's the one that we wrote down a few weeks ago. Travis has a copy of it, but it shows the client all the steps we're going to go through, and there's an estimate and then a subcontractor review and then contract. So I just did one last week where the electrician had to come out and do a review because the box was full and he had a couple options on what he was going to do to run a couple new circuits. While he was out there, he found a couple dead circuits that he could eliminate. It only changed the cost $1,000 instead of $4,000. And then we could lock in at a contracted price. But the clients are always happy to have the subs do a walkthrough if it means that they're going to get to a contracted price that will avoid change orders.
Good stuff. What other questions do we have here today, guys? Concerns, grievances, thoughts?
I was going to say, whoever was asking about the software and estimating and stuff, and that's I'm using House Call Pro, and I've recently, kind of run into the same issue of it's working and it's good and fine, but I'm finding that it's not the best, that it's more for, and I was doing more handyman stuff, but I'm doing more big jobs and stuff now. I like it a lot, but it's the estimating part and stuff like that. The same things you were talking about that, I'm having a hard time finding another one that's worth leaving House Call Pro for to change a CRM and find something valuable that would save me time on doing that. Because estimating is, it's probably the most time consuming thing that we do.
See, and I've even tried freeing up some time for our estimator by just, someone looking up all these prices, because he's looking up every price, adding it into the estimate. So I didn't know if something like that would free up his time, because he does spend a lot of time on just gathering all the prices.
What kind of projects are you estimating, Jason?
Just like maybe some small repairs. We started out as a handyman business, and now we're growing into more remodels and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Same thing. So, in our system, and I know Builder-Trend can do this. I used to use Builder-Trend too, but you can build out templates for different types of projects. And then when if you build out a bathroom template, as an example, you can build out all the elements that are going to be in a bathroom, and they'll have a pre-populated kind of a group price. Say a new shower would be $12,000 or something.
Right.
And it has some elements. And then for every bathroom that you do, say that you're just going to go in and redo the floor. You're not going to do the shower. You're not going to do all that. You might be replacing the vanity, toilet, floor, trim. You can just delete out the things out of that template that you're not going to use. And all the other stuff is already pre-populated, and you can just adjust the price accordingly. And so it saves a ton of time once you get the template built, because all the elements are already in there. You can put the plumber in there, the electrician in there with kind of pre-built allowances from historical data that you have.
Right.
And then
Right.
you're like, oh, this one's going to be tough. Let's adjust it. Maybe your electrician needs to be $1,200 instead of $600 for that particular thing. You send the drawing and the scope of work back to your electrician. Hey, I've got $800 in here for you. Is that enough? Then that gives them a starting point too, rather than just starting with a blank sheet, having to come out, do their own site walk. If you template a bunch of it, you can get really close with to get to that estimate point. And the more we started to just package up a bunch of stuff, like we have deck packages, we have a bathroom package, a backsplash package, some shower surround packages, and we start the client out there because if they select the package, all the back end stuff is done already.
Right.
And if they go custom, then there's a design fee that goes with that pays for the estimator's time.
Okay. Okay.
And that's worked really well because a lot of people, if they're like, oh, I just want a deck, well, we've got deck packages from 12 grand to 40. So if they want to spend 25,000, they pick the one that's 25,000, choose the colors. And it's like, okay, are you going to be happy with that? Yes. Awesome. Let's sign the contract.
Yeah.
And it gives them an immediate option that you've already set all the parameters for, rather than having to custom do every single one.
Right. Yeah. Because that's what he's doing now is custom doing all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that a lot.
I love giving ranges, guys, especially like even in that first initial phone call, if somebody is like really pushing you for the price and you're implementing revenue growth systems, so you're not giving prices over the phone. You know, if somebody's really pushing for it, saying, hey, for a bathroom model, we can see it baseline being around blank, and we can see it if you're wanting to get bougie AF, we could get it all the way up to, you know, blank. Is that realistic to you? You know, and just getting kind of a ballpark can help out. As we've been talking, Jason, one thing that comes to my mind, if your job boards are pretty dang full and the leads are coming in, maybe it's time we don't waste our time quoting those small jobs. You know, one thing I want us to keep in mind is sales is about sorting. And sometimes, especially early on in the client relationship, we can still be in the mindset of, oh my gosh, I've got to quote every single job that comes in, like the leads might dry up, or, you know, we might still be in that mindset. And it's like, we know we need to adjust to the new reality. And the new reality is we have a good amount of leads coming in and it's time to be picky. Let's not waste our time quoting these small jobs that are under a couple grand or under 5. Let's set a parameter around it. I would rather see us giving less estimates and really kicking ass at our sales process for those ideal likely buyers than stressing out our estimator or yourself and quoting these diddly little jobs, you know. And there might come is in the business where maybe we do have a slower season and we start quoting those jobs again. That's okay. You know, like there's no like set in stone rule. So something to think about. Food for thought there. Luke, I see your hand up here. Want to get to you?
Yeah, I just had a question for Brandon. What CRM did you say you were using? It was
It's for the remodeling side, we use Job Tread, like tire tread. And for the handyman side, we use Jobber.
Okay, cool. Thanks. When you show up to these estimates, like say a deck, and you have different packages, do you have a printout for each package, or do you just verbally kind of say it's a 12 by 12?
We have a sales sheet that Redmond helped us put together, and we name our deck packages. So we've got from 10 by 12 to 16 by 20, and those are called from Serenity to Party Animal. And depending on what you want out of your deck, we've got an option for you and a price to go with it. And that's all. Okay. We can't advertise the price with stairs because stairs are a big variable, right? But I have a cost per vertical foot for each quality level of package that we have. And so when they send us, hey, I want a Serenity, it's a 10 by 12. And I want stairs, I know that's $1,000 a vertical foot. I just measure down from the patio door. It's 8 feet at $8 grand. And I've got a price for them right now. If they want a custom deck, I know the cost per square foot. We can get to an approximate size and get them a price for it. And usually that steers them back towards a package because custom's 50% higher.
Okay, that's
and it's because you have to go through the design process. You have to go through the estimating process. You got to go track down a bunch of materials you don't have a list for. You have all this office time that you don't have to spend in the package because I have all those material lists pre-made.
I love the names of the packages, Brandon, and I love having good, better, best options. You know, that's something we like all of our clients to try to implement if they can. It doesn't mean that you have 3 different estimates, that you're spending the time to create 3 different estimates every single time you go to quote, but it's that you're prepared to say, hey, this is what we recommend and why. You know, this is your quote. This is what it's going to do for you. Now, we could also do blank. Here's why I think that's also a great option for you. Here's why it's a little bit more expensive. And then we also have this option, you know, where it's not going to give you everything you need or everything you're wanting, but it's going to give you everything you need. It's going to be a little bit lower, you know, which option is working, you know, do you think
And
is
for
gonna
some people, they're like, yeah, so I don't want to spend $8,000 on the stairs. I just want a bigger deck. Sounds good. We just got you to that option in 2 minutes. And if someone's standing there with a $25,000 check they want to give you today, have some way to take it. If you have to go back and spend 3 hours estimating a deck when most of those parameters are pretty predictable, it's like just come up with a square foot price as a high average and saving the time. You can charge more if you spend less time doing the estimate. If you get them the price quick, you can charge 25% more. And it's because you can look at 10 decks in the time that it costs you to estimate one.
I love that. Words of wisdom, Brandon. Levi, I see your hand up. Want to get to you here in our final minutes, final thoughts.
Yeah, so here at Main Machinery, we run a heavy equipment company. So we work on repair in the field or in our shop and work on heavy equipment. And then we have a rental fleet that we rent out. And I guess my biggest question here is a lot of our business is done to business, not necessarily. Most people don't own their own heavy equipment at their house, right? So I guess we've been word of mouth for 30 years. So, you know, a long-term client, most of our clients are long-term that we've dealt with for years. What have you seen that has been most successful in networking? Has it been like going out and cold calling? Has it been showing up and trying to have a conversation with a new client possibly? But I'm kind of just trying to get an idea of where to start for the networking aspect for business to business, not necessarily going out and do these estimates, but going out and finding new businesses to do this work for, you know, in regards to like construction companies and stuff that own heavy equipment.
It's a great question, Levi. I'm like looking through our list here, and if one of our clients here has done the Dream 100 and wants to speak up, I would love for you to unmute. I'm looking at the list though, Levi, and I am not seeing clients I recognize that's probably implemented the Dream 100. I think most of the guys here today are more residential side. But before I make that claim, does anybody want to interrupt me?
Half of our business comes from Dream 100 referral because I spend time, I'll go buy somebody a cup of coffee, someone who's a realtor or a painter or interior designer, somebody who's in a parallel business that talks to the same clients but doesn't do what we do. And for equipment, I had access to a Dingo, which is the smallest equipment that you would have probably. And we make more money moving material with that goofy thing than we ever did with dirt work. So just hauling material around to the backyard, we would haul beams that weigh 400, 500, 600 pounds with one guy when it would have taken 6. And I would talk to contractors and be like, are you having trouble finding basic labor that's reliable to move material? And figure out which equipment helps them move material. Construction's 75% logistics. 25% of it is install. So that's what I would aim for, is just make a sales pitch for moving material efficiently and have a package for them. I was going so far as to start telling guys for $1,000, I'll bring your deck material around the back. And you know it's going to save you money. You can do 2 more decks a week. And one guy can move 2 decks in a day. So I would if you have a guy who's proficient, go and move a set of deck material around the back for him one time, and then tell him why it's worth $500-$600 or $1,000.
I love that.
That'd be a contractor Dream 100.
Yes, Brandon, I love that. And one thing that Brandon said, Levi, and you and I are going to focus on this pretty quickly, is implementing the Dream 100. People are very used to getting emails and phone calls. Is that still something that we do to help get business, and does it work? Yes. But the most effective part is in person. And you and I are going to implement a system, a routine part of your marketing that you guys will do on a weekly or monthly basis where you're doing drop-offs. I wish Surface Renew was here today. They're one of our, they do bathtub refinishing and countertops and floors. And they, I would say 80 to 90% of the work that comes in from them is from the Dream 100, where they're building these relationships with these people who can either refer them or subcontract them out. And that's going to be the move that you and I are going to implement, Levi, for that business to business. So it definitely works. I appreciate you letting him know, Brandon, how it's worked for you guys. But we are out of time here today, guys. I know that we've got busy schedules. You guys are business owners. We're going to let you guys hold to that calendar and to that schedule. So if everybody could unmute for me, for those of you who are new, leave. We like to unmute and we like to close every group call with a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So if I could get everybody to unmute, I'm seeing it happen. We're going to do 3, 2, 1.
Growth.
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 Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.